After an 0-2 start, and me going on and lamenting about things on my most watched video so far in the season of the fan series, certainly, I certainly wasn't happy after that poor performance against Dallas at home. But the Eagles have since turned it around, including a 27-7 win against the Giants last night. I know, because I was there, with my buddy Big Slim, a big-time Eagles fan from Maryland. Actually got the tickets last minute, and was able to take in the game last night in the Eagles blackout, wearing these alternate jerseys that they wore last night. And of course they honored this guy, Brian Westbrook, for the Eagles Hall of Fame. Great running back the Eagles had those years ago. Still the all-time franchise leader in yards from scrimmage. Total yards from scrimmage is Brian Westbrook. So he was honored last night, and many of his former teammates in the house. And Bradley Cooper was there too. So it was a night of stars for sure, and certainly former Eagle stars and movie star and Philadelphia native Bradley Cooper, and the Eagles get the victory against the Giants, which isn't too surprising because the Eagles. It's funny, in the Eli Manning, Tom Coughlin era, no team has given them more trouble than the Philadelphia Eagles, than my Eagles. We've actually played pretty well against the Giants over the years. The Eagles swept them last season. They won at home 27-0, and then they beat the Giants in the Meadowlands in a game that didn't mean anything at the end of the season. The funny thing about that is that game, the Giants were the team coming in with all momentum. The Eagles were kind of sluggishing through the end of the season, and what turned into a disappointing season, but yet they were still able to beat the Giants. Go figure, right? So Giant fans are getting pretty tired of losing to the Eagles, but I think they've gotten a little used to it by now, because it's like I said in the video leading up to the game, Eli Manning has not fared very well versus the Eagles over the last how many seasons. When he was a rookie in those first few years, he actually did pretty good against the Eagles. But since then, it's really been all Eagles. I mean, the Eagles have taken care of Eli pretty good. He does not like playing the Eagles. You can kind of tell. The funny thing is, we got to the game a little late yesterday, and we missed the opening drive where Odell Beckham Jr. scored. And as soon as we get to the seats, it's like from the time we got to our seats, sat down, and watched the game, the Giants didn't score again. The Eagles were able to stop them, get the turnovers. Unfortunately, Sam Bradford didn't have a great game. I mean, he threw 3 interceptions and just some bad ones in there. But DeMarco Murray had a good game, over 100 yards and a touchdown. Nice stiff arm there to get him a touchdown, and he played well. Overall, hey, you know what? I mean, the Eagles' defense rose to the occasion. I mean, after giving up the opening drive for a touchdown, they were in shutdown mode, and it was reminiscent of the game last year at home, where the Eagles got pressure on Eli, got turnovers, and just dominated from there. Big ups to D'Amico Ryans. I mean, he set the tone. He had a big interception off Larry Donnell that really started this to turn the tide, because the Giants were driving at that point. They're already up 7-0. They're having another good drive, and a big time interception by a defensive leader. If the Eagles had captaincies, he would have one of them, because he's certainly one of the leaders on that defense. He's the quarterback of the defense, starting middle linebacker. And the Eagles certainly missed him. I've said this many times. One of the things that really hurt the Eagles last year when they started going into their slide was after D'Amico went down with the injury, ironically enough, in Houston against his former team. And, when you lose your starting middle linebacker, I mean, I don't care what team you are, it's going to hurt, because, I mean, the starting middle linebacker is the quarterback of the defense. He's the signal caller. He makes the calls in the huddle. And D'Amico has been a great pro for many years. He's a veteran. He's smart. He's a playmaker. and he certainly showed it. Now he did get a bit hurt. I think he had like if I remember correct, a hamstring injury. He was on the radio today saying he'll be good to go next, for this week's game against Carolina, but we'll see, obviously. But he was a beast. I mean, he had an interception. He was just all over the place, making tackles. I think he had like a fumble recover too, or a fumble force or something like that. But he was just a monster last night. And the defense certainly. I mean, look, I've been saying this since I've been doing these videos this season. This defense is one of the reasons why that they have the record that they have right now. In fact, it might be one of the big reasons why they sit at 3-3, because they have played really well. And I know that they gave up the game-winning drive at Washington against the Redskins, and that certainly was not good. But overall, including in that game, I mean, they've played really well. I mean, they have yet to give up a rushing touchdown to a running back. They gave up one to Kirk Cousins on a botched play. But they have yet to give up a rushing touchdown to a running back. I believe they have yet to give up like a 100-yard gain to a running back this season. The defensive line, which was one of the big strengths of this team last year, has really has really just been every bit of that again this season. I mean, Fletcher Cox, I know he missed out on the Pro Bowl selection last season. He's playing with a chip on his shoulder this year. Plus his contract year, he wants to get paid. He has just been an absolute monster. And he was reigning Defensive Player of the Week a week ago. Great game against the Saints. And he played another great game. I mean, he got a sack on Eli, stopping the run. They stopped the 4th and short, earlier in the game. And just, the defensive line, him and Benny Logan and Thornton and I mean, Connor Barwin had a big game, last night. Just, you see this defensive line and you see what they can be, which is a dominant force against whoever they're going to play. And when you can take away a facet that the other team wants to do, which is to run the ball and make them one-dimensional and passing all the time, because the running game just isn't there, you're going to have a chance to win a lot of games. And as you see, last night, I know Eli came in a hot quarterback. Everyone was saying, "Oh, he's a hot quarterback. He gets rid of the ball early." There's just something about this defense that he just does not like playing against. And they get to him. I mean, they get in his head, and he starts, making mistakes. He threw a pick six there to Nolan Carroll to give the Eagles a lead, which they never relinquished after that. At that point, it was 14-0, and that ended up being 14-7 rather, and ended up being 27-7. So you see what happens when you get the pressure on the quarterback. I don't care who the quarterback is. You get pressure in your face, there's a chance the quarterback's going to make mistakes. And that's one of the things that this defensive front has been getting better and better at doing throughout the season. This is one of the things they were great at a season ago. And they are able to shut down the opponent's running game. And that's going to be a big component again this week going against the Panthers. The Panthers are another team that likes to run the ball. They're coming, they're undefeated. They're coming off a huge win at Seattle. What they got in Cam Newton and Jonathan Stewart and company. They want to run the ball. I mean, they want to establish a running game, and it leads to their passing game. So one of the things the Eagles going into this week have to do is what they've been really good at doing throughout the season is stop the run. Stop the run, you're going to have a chance. Make that opponent one-dimensional. But anyhow, back to the Giant game. So there were positives and there were negatives. So the positives, obviously, is how the defense has played. They have just been just absolute balling. I mean, since they gave up that game-winning touchdown to the Redskins, they just have played with an anger to them, and they for the most part manhandled the Saints, and for the most part manhandled the Giants. They bullied them. They played their football, and they stopped the run, and they got to the quarterback, and they got their turnovers, and they made big plays. And it all started with DeMeco Ryans. Again, big credit to him. He set the tone last night. And it just continued from there. I mean, they played with a fire and a passion that us Eagle fans love to see. So the last 2 weeks they played really well. I know they've given up. They gave up a early touchdown to the Saints a week ago. They gave up an early touchdown to the Giants. But really, after those scores, it was pretty much one-sided the rest of the way because the defense stepped up and they made plays. They stopped the other team, and that's what you have to do: get the ball back to your offense. Unfortunately, what happened last night was that Sam Bradford is just. At times he just looks lost, and he's throwing bad interceptions. And he had a couple nice throws in there, but just the touchdown to Cooper, which really was kind of a busted play for the Giants' defense, but that tied the game at the time. But honestly, you want to see him play better, and if this team is going to have any shot at really, obviously the defense is going to be there week to week. I do strongly feel, barring any catastrophic injuries, this defense is going to be there week to week. The special teams, with Darren Sproles, they're going to be there week to week. Now it's about the quarterback. Now it's about you got to limit your turnovers. You got to limit your mistakes. It's like Ike Reese was saying on the radio today. You are given an opportunity here with a great defense, shaping up to be a great defense, making stops, getting turnovers, doing their job. And it's your job now on offense. You have these running backs to hand the ball off to, so that takes some pressure off of you. They are running the ball better now than they were at the beginning of the season. The offensive line is starting to gel together. They're opening up some holes. You got Murray playing pretty good in another 100-yard game for him yesterday, a touchdown, like I said. Matthews playing pretty good when he's given the opportunities. Darren Sproles, too. So you got that three-headed monster behind him. And now it's about what you do as a quarterback. You can't just continually turn the ball over at the rate that he's turned the ball over. He's really hindered this offense. Throwing bad interceptions. In some cases, as soon as the defense gets a turnover, he turns the ball right back over. It's either an interception or some sort of miscommunication with Kelsey, and the ball gets snapped a little early, like it did yesterday. Again, it's like the third time this season that's happened. You got to be on the same page with your offense. You're the quarterback. You're the leader. You got to be on the same page with these guys, and you got to stop it with the turnovers. It's one of the things that killed them a season ago. The Eagles, again, they did lose their starting quarterback. Sanchez came in there, won a few games, but then he started throwing the ball to the other team. And, you can't get away with that week to week. Now, the last 2 weeks they got away with it. He kind of lived and died with it. But you can't keep that pace. And hopefully, I'm not saying he's going to turn into Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or anything like that. But what you hope is that at least he can limit the turnovers. Is he going to be putting up, are they going to be putting up like 40 points a game? No. But one of the things they have to do is limit these turnovers, and it's one of the things that could really come back to bite them if they keep it up at this pace. It's been pretty bad. 2 red zone turnovers against end zone turnovers against the Saints, another one against the Giants. And you don't you want to play your position. You don't have to be the greatest quarterback in the world to be a winner. To be one that ends up, on that big pedestal podium at the end of the season. You don't have to be the greatest quarterback. What you want to do is you want to limit the turnovers. And, give your team a chance, at getting points. You have this defense that's playing like gangbusters right now, making plays. Secondary certainly playing better. They seem to be gelling together too. They're playing it, they're getting the ball for you. When they give the ball to you on a turnover, you don't want to turn the ball right back over. And that's one of the problems that Sam Bradford's had for pretty much throughout the season. And you want to see, better play from him. Now, obviously, again, he's a guy, he hasn't played for a season, but there's really no excuses. At this point, you're a pro. You've been in the league for a number of years. You got to play your position. And obviously, people say, well, he's not that good. Who knows? But got to play your position. And you got to keep these turnovers to you got to limit the turnovers. And it's they've gotten away with it the past 2 weeks, but going into Carolina, Dallas again after the bye week, limit the turnovers there because those defenses are defenses that are going to play pretty good. Dallas, they got some more pieces on their defense. They're playing a little better. Carolina obviously they played well all year, and they got Kuechly back now, so it's not going to be an easy game, but you don't want to make it any easier on them, to keep giving them the ball. So that's one of the concerns from last night. Obviously the 3 interceptions. The positives, like I said, for the second straight week, DeMarco Murray has rushed for over 100 yards. And I know a lot of people were kind of laughing at the beginning of the season. Oh, look at that. He was just a product of Dallas's offensive line, blah, blah, blah. And maybe in part that was true, because is he going to put up 1,800 yards or whatever it was, a season ago this year? No. That was just one of those all-time special seasons, and he's probably not going to do that again. But you are seeing in these past 2 weeks that he's not a bust. Okay, he's not a guy who forgot how to play his position overnight. He had some rough go of it with the offensive line. One of the problems was they were getting that cohesiveness together at the beginning of the season. Getting those blocks down, getting what they had to do down. They had to play better, and that's a huge part of this, is that they had to play better. And for the most part, the past few weeks they have. And are they the greatest offensive line in the game? No, but they have played better the last 2 weeks. And we criticize them when they were playing poor at the beginning of the season. We got to praise them a little bit because they have played better. They've actually given Bradford, that clean pocket for the most part. Of course, Bradford's still turning the ball over, but it's not because the pressure's always in his face, as it was at the beginning of the season. You're seeing the holes develop. You're seeing the blocking better on the offensive line. And this game is won in the trenches, as we all know. The Eagles' offensive line has done a better job in the past couple weeks, and you see the results. DeMarco Murray, 2 weeks in a row, over 100 yards rushing, scored a touchdown the last 2 weeks. And the Eagles have 2 W's the past 2 weeks, too. So the offensive line's playing better. The running game is better. They're not getting tackled as soon as they touch the ball. I still don't like DeMarco Murray running out of the eye, or out of the shotgun, excuse me. The eye is actually what he should be running out of. Matthews seems to be a better runner out of the shotgun than DeMarco Murray, and one of the reasons is because Matthews has always been in an offense that ran out of the gun. DeMarco Murray has been more of a running back over the years to run out of that power I formation, or out of the I formation. And here he's being asked to run out of the gun and kind of do some of the things that McCoy was doing, and he's not that type of back. But even with that, you see he's starting to make some adjustments. He's starting to get good runs even out of the gun formations. And the results the past 2 weeks, the blocking's been better. The results the past few weeks, 2 weeks in a row, DeMarco Murray's rushed for over 100 yards. He's scored touchdowns the past 2 weeks, and the Eagles have wins the past 2 weeks. So they're doing a better job up front, than certainly they were at the beginning of the season, certainly through those first 2 games where it was just god-awful. Where it looked like a high school team could, stop the run on them, Pee-wee team could stop the run on them at that point. But they've certainly played better. And again, you got to give credit where credit's due. They've played better, and they're winning those upfront battles that you have to win to have success. So kudos to them for that. You want to see Bradford play better, and hopefully he will. I mean, at least not throwing the 3 interceptions a game or whatever it is at this pace so far through the past few weeks. But, you want to see him play better. Again, he's not going to be, Tom Brady. He's not going to be Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to be, even, I don't know, throw another one out there who's playing pretty good this year, even like an Andy Dalton who's having a good season, or a Carson Palmer. But, you still want to see him play better. You still want to see him play better. And, hopefully that will come. Fingers crossed. Because the alternative to him is Sanchez. And, we saw Sanchez enough last season to know that, okay, maybe for a few games, but certainly not for the whole season. So we're kind of out of options. So it's going to be Bradford, and, we just have to, hope he plays better. That's for sure. So, hey, you know what? A great Eagles win. I know I've kind of rambled on here, but great Eagles win last night. Another win against the G-Men. We own you, New York. Just remember that. Beat the Jets and the Giants this year. Ha ha. Still have to play the Giants in the Meadowlands at the end of the season, just like a year ago. But we'll see what happens at that point, where the teams will be sitting at that point. And after now 6 weeks, the Eagles are 3-3, and they're in first place. They're in first place in the NFC East. After all that craziness after the first 2 games and how horrible things looked at that point, they rebounded. They've won 3 out of the last 4. Probably should have won all 4. I mean, that Redskins game, that not gonna get back to that again. But they have won 3 out of their past 4. They're 3-3. They're in first place in the NFC. Some people call it the NFC East. Maybe so, because the 3-3 teams in first place. But you play in the division you're in. I mean, the Eagles can't do anything. The fact that they're in this division, that's the division they're in. So they're 3-3, first place with that head-to-head win against the Giants, which is why they're in first place. The Redskins lose at the Meadowlands against the Jets, and Dallas had the bye. So this week, of course, the Eagles take on the Panthers, and the Giants and Dallas play one another. And I'm blanking on if the Redskins have a bye, if they're who they're playing. I'm blanking on that. I apologize, but I don't have the schedule in front of me. But as I know with the Eagles, it's a Sunday night game, another primetime game. This year it's at Carolina. I know the Eagles thumped up on the Panthers last year. I'm sure the Panthers haven't forgotten about that. So it should be a very interesting game at Carolina. The Eagles, again, 3-3, first in the NFC East. A win would be really big, going into the bye. They'll be 4-3 if they can do that, still in first place. So it'll be huge, but we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a tough game. I'm not going to lie about that. The Panthers, look, they're for real. I mean, they're undefeated right now. They beat the Seahawks in Seattle, which I don't care how the Seahawks are playing. That's a feat in itself to beat that team in Seattle with the 12th man and all. So yeah, I mean, the Panthers, they could be for real this year. It's going to be a nice test for the Eagles right now, which is, they're playing pretty good right now. They've won the last 2 games. Their defense is playing really good. So it should be a really good test for them this week at Carolina against a hot quarterback like Cam Newton, playing really well right now, MVP candidate in my opinion. And that defense, it's probably one of the better defenses that they've played. Certainly probably since the Jets game. That they've gone up a defense dynamic like that can get the turnovers and have the strong play that the Panthers have played. It's one of the reasons why they're undefeated. So it should be a really good game. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully the Birds get a win. Hopefully Sam Bradford plays better. And I think if he plays better, it goes a long way to getting a win there. I know the defense they're gonna show up. They're gonna show up. They've shown up all season. They'll show up for that game. Now it's about Sam Bradford, and now it's about trying again to limit those mistakes. And Jordan Matthews, my goodness, you got to get coached up by your cousin Jerry Rice and holding onto the damn ball. He had a fumble last night. He has stone hands this season. I don't understand it, but Jordan, catch the ball and hang on to the ball. But anyhow, great win again last night. For the Eagles, and first place in the NFC East. It's nice to say that, certainly after how the season started. So it feels good right now for them to have rebounded the way they have. And now again, big game, prime time against the Panthers. We'll see how they do. And I'll be back after that game with the little post game comments and such. And as always, go Birds. I'll see you in the next one. All right, everyone, take care.